Let's begin our conversation on the program here today. It is no longer news that the convener of the Revolution Now protest and former presidential candidate in Nigeria, Omoyele Sowore, has been rearrested by Nigeria's secret police. However, what is generating concerns is the manner in which he was arrested last Friday at the Federal High Court in Abuja. The dramatic scenes in and out of the courtroom continues to receive condemnation both locally and internationally. However, the DSS, in a statement by its public relations officer, Peter Afunanya, has denied invading the court while accusing Mr Sowore and his supporters of orchestrating the drama simply to serve a propagandist purpose. It also adds that the agency did not make any effort to rearrest Omoyele Sowore's co-accused olawale bakare.
Following the rearrest of Omoyele Sowore, the Nigerian Bar Association has called for the immediate suspension of Yusuf Bichi, the Director General of the Department of State Services. In a statement, the NBA describes what is called the passion for lawlessness and disrespect for the rule of law by agents of the DSS as appalling. More disgraceful, according to the body of lawyers, is that the unrest interrupted judicial proceedings and made the presiding judge abandon judicial affairs because of safety concerns. It's added that disrespect for court orders by the DSS has become unrivaled under President Muhammadu Buhari. Sowore, who is facing charges of treasonable felony and cyber-stalking brought against him by the government, was first arrested on August 3rd ahead of a protest he was promoting. And this was how the event played out in court.
I think they want to arrest you.
Also, more than 200 civil society organizations are demanding the release of Sowore and others that they say have been illegally detained by the state security services. A mass action is being threatened against the Nigerian government if activist and journalist Sowore is not released within 14 days. An earlier version of this report used information from Sowore's outlet Sahara reporters that coalition will shut down the country. They're actually threatening to occupy human rights commissions across Nigeria. Arise News correspondent Nisi Gabriel reports.
The rearrest of Omoyele Sowore has caused outrage, not just in Nigeria, but around the world. Sowore had spent 3 months in the custody of the State Security Service before being released on the 5th of December. But less than 24 hours later, after a dramatic scuffle in court, he was detained once more. The actions of the security officers has been condemned by 2 U.S. senators and the American State Department. The chorus of voices angry over Sowore's rearrest is growing. Now a cross-section of Nigerian society has given a 14-day ultimatum to the government. Release him or face civil disobedience.
We demand the following. Number 1, President Muhammadu Buhari to show accountability as President and Commander-in-Chief and address the nation on his commitment to the rule of law and human rights. Number 2, the release of all illegally detained persons by the Department of Secret Service as revealed by Amnesty, Premium Times and Punch newspapers in recent months. Number 3, that the government obey all pending court orders. Number 4, an investigation of the officers who violated protocol and the circumstances leading to Omoyele Sowore's second arrest. And lastly, the unconditional release of Omoyele Sowore per his bail terms. If these 5 demands are not honored within 14 days, we call on patriots across Nigeria to join us as we occupy the National Human Rights Commission, offices across the country, as it is legally mandated to protect rights, and it also reports to the presidency.
These groups say what's happening reminds them of the days of military rule.
We also have moral obligation to ensure that we sanitize governance in this country. You cannot, because you are in power, abuse the power. We must checkmate excesses of public officials. And those security people that have done this act of shameless act, we demand that they must also be investigated and tried, because they have put the country to shame. All over the world, people watch it, security, DSS personnel coming to the premises of court to actually even point and engage in a very competent way. So we think that this is a collective responsibility, and we are not thinking that it should be limited to civil society organization. It should be for all Nigerians to be concerned about the kind of shame and the kind of brutality that we are going through in this country.
The government has defended its actions, with the security service denying its rearrested Sowore inside a courtroom. They accuse his supporters of staging the scuffle. Whatever the circumstances of his rearrest, it's clear if Sowore...
Joining us now from Abuja is Akin Sowore, sibling and one of the legal counsel to the accused who was present during the rearrest. Let's just go straight to it, Akin. Akin, you were there in court that day. Akin, I want to get to the root of the matter, because we've been hearing lots and lots of things in different places. Who was the man wearing a black suit that pulled Sowore to the ground? Was it part of you or part of the DSS? Who was that man?
Well, of course, as a matter of fact, the person that held Sowore down has been, oddly, detailed to, be monitoring Sowore, even right from when we started coming to court. Of course, the name of that particular officer is Marshal, okay. And he is so identified since we started this trial. So he was, part of us in the court. Each time, Sowore came to court, we sit behind Sowore as his guard. That particular day, after the bail, granting of the bail, and Sowore, after the adjournment of that, court proceeding that day, Sowore was about moving out, and he just came around to, accost him and held him, and told him that he should go away with him. And Sowore now resisted that, no. He still, according to him, he was still enjoying bail. So the man now heard him, and immediately the alarm broke out, and people came to his rescue, and they joined hands with him. It was the person that held Sowore down. So that particular guy, if the SSS really want to say the exact truth, they should bring out an officer called Marshal in their department to the people, so that we know, and the particular picture of that person should be declared wanted if actually the guy is not from them. But we know fully well that the guy is one of their officers, and he's been part of us in the trial, since we started the trial.
So you know him very well?
So you have identified this man in the video as someone you're used to, someone who has always been in the court. But I want to get a clearer picture of the entire scenario, because the DSS has released a statement. It says it did not invade the court. It's a law-abiding agent or arm of the government. What exactly happened in court? Because from the video that we have seen, we see a lot of Sowore's supporters, lawyers around him. So at what point did the DSS invade the courtroom, Justice Ijeoma's court to be precise? Paint a picture for us of what happened that day in court.
Like I said, I was in court, alongside the proceeding. And we only came to the court that very particular day to brief back the court what transpired. The court, earlier before that, the court gave 24 hours, and which they obeyed. Around 5 o'clock, later hour of that very particular day, they called us and we went to receive Sowore and we brought him. About the second day, the matter was adjourned the second day for briefing on the compliance of that order. We actually went there for the compliance, to report the compliance, that they complied. But before we got to the courtroom, we actually got the information that the DSS people were around. They didn't issue, they actually have a business that they, rather than maybe probably their counsel and few of them maybe probably on assignment for the court. But that day, to our amazement, we the court, we got the wind of that, and our lead counsel, SAN, Falana, told the court that he had such an information, which their lead counsel at the prosecution side denied. At the point of going out when the court adjourned, we were going. And
okay, Mr. Sowore, I'm sorry to interrupt your line of thought. However, we need to go on a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to continue this conversation. Stay with us.
Right, we're back to the ICJ. We're so sorry about that. And this is a case between Gambia and Myanmar as regards, genocidal issues with the Rohingya Muslims. If you just dial back a couple of years back, there was a mass, attack against the Rohingya Muslims in a state called Rakhine State in Myanmar. And that went on for some time, and a lot of Rohingya Muslims were made refugees overnight. We also saw the mass exodus of Rohingyas out of Rakhine State. And in the middle of all of this was a certain lady, too, that her rights were violated many years ago. Aung San Suu Kyi, that was locked in solitary confinement, that was locked in under house arrest under the military junta in Myanmar. And she prevailed over the state because she was sort of like the de facto leader in the state, but she said nothing as regards that. In fact, she said some very, unsavory words about the Rohingyas. But now Gambia is taking Myanmar to the International Court of Justice. Two countries going head-to-head as regards genocidal issues. Aung San Suu Kyi is seated there, and she's going to be responding to all of this. We're going to be watching the proceedings as it continues.
Well, Gambia has the backing of 57 members of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. It filed a case before the International Court of Justice alleging that Myanmar's atrocity against the Rohingya in Rakhine State, like Rufai mentioned, violates various provisions of the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide.
Yes,
that's the Genocide Convention.
Yes, and in response, Myanmar has denied these allegations and saying that it's fighting terrorism by groups such as the Arakan Rohingya Salvation Army, a rebel outfit that has been fighting for rights, and that they renewed their 2017 military campaign against this group following rebel attacks earlier that year on security posts. So, I mean, this is a case that we are all looking forward to seeing what is going to... Okay, so we are back, and we are going through our Abuja studios to talk to Mr. Akin Sowore, his sibling to Mr. Omoyele Sowore, and of course one of the legal counsel, and he was present during this rearrest. Now, before the break, my colleague Adesua asked you to paint a picture of what happened in court that day. But I'd also like to add, now that he has been detained or rearrested, what are the next steps? And his accused, Mr. Olawale Bakare, what's his current status as well?
Well, at our level, at the court, we feel that we are confused at this level because we discovered that the Nigerian government is not sincere about this matter, and they're not ready to obey, the rule of law. We are calling on the international bar, international, civil society to come to our aid, in compelling, the Nigerian country, the Nigerian state, to obey rule of law. Actually, we have seen a scenario where we don't even know the exact thing to do because all our effort to involve in legal battle bring him to justice, to bring the matter to justice, has been proved abortive, and it has gotten to an apogee, and gotten to a stage where the situation is worrisome, and the court in Nigeria has been desecrated. We are very, very serious, and we are not comfortable. The situation is worrisome. The court itself is under siege. The judge that adjudicated over the matter is under palpable fear. we are very, very confused. Our next line of action is to, appeal to the United Nations, civil organizations all over the world to compel, as they are currently doing, Nigeria government to, release him unconditionally. And right from, that angle, we continue. Because it must be cleared that the court orders, will be obeyed before we continue, on court, process. But at this junction, we have discovered that the government is no longer respecting rule of law. They are no longer, obeying court orders. And at this point, the situation in Nigeria is a situation of anarchy. It's a banana republic
Akin,
we are witnessing.
Okay, Akin, I just quickly want to come in here, Akin, and just to reiterate the question my colleague asked, and also ask like a follow-up. Let me ask the follow-up first. The follow-up is, over the weekend, Senator Bob Menendez and Mr. Showore's wife, had a joint statement. Senator Bob Menendez said he's going to inform, the American government as regards these actions will be taken. There will be dire consequences. Has that gone? Do you have any follow-up on that? What is happening? Secondly, two follow-ups that I want you to clarify. It was said that the DSS invaded the courtroom. But what we can see from the videos there is only Marshal we saw. You've been able to say that Marshal is a part of the DSS. Is Marshal coming in to try to arrest you already, the invasion of the courtroom? And also, what is the state of Olawale Bakare? You know why I did ask that? Because Dejade Yoju was here on a platform a couple of days ago. In fact, the day this brouhaha happened, and Dejade Yoju did say that he was with Fallon in the office when some officials of the DSS, Dejade Yoju speaking, not me speaking, came and was asking Fallon and your team for Olawale Bakare. So where is Olawale Bakare now? Just three questions. If you can throw more light. Is it only Marshal that invaded the courtroom as a DSS invaded, or there were some other people, we don't know? Paint a picture. Let us know what happened.
Actually, from the picture you can see that the DSS invaded the entire court. The courtroom is on the 4th floor, court 7. The DSS climbed from downstairs to upstairs, room, 4th floor, room 7. They climbed, they entered into the court premises, and they entered upstairs. Marshal and other, guys that were on Mufti came in to apprehend him. So if they have said that they were not in court, probably they didn't arrest him in the courtroom. They are only telling lies. You can imagine they are, inconsistent, rights. Positions right from time when the other time Sowore was granted bail and they didn't allow. They were hiding under the fact that nobody, came to ask for him, and that they couldn't release him, to go alone and for him not to be knocked down by car. They are very, very frivolous in all their claims. We know quite well, and people testify, even right from the picture, the photo started, the photo that we have been painting since, you discover that the DSS wrote boldly in their uniform. They came around, they were inside the courtroom. The court was fenced. The court it was not in an open field. It was fenced. They came inside, and you could see further that Fallon was even pleading that they couldn't arrest somebody right away inside court. So they came actually inside the courtroom to make the arrest. If you see from the door of that picture, you discover the DSS line up in that staircase everywhere. So they were there. They couldn't have told this lie. So we are only trying, to disclaim, most of those things. And we know quite well that they actually came inside the court. In the first place, if they discover that some people have come into court to arrest Sowore or to strangulate Sowore when they were around, it is their duty to protect law and order. And more so that Sowore is right away in their custody. How manage they got Sowore in their custody if actually they didn't come for him? So we are saying this because we know quite well,
Okay, Akin, can you move on to the other two questions? Akin, can you move on to the other two questions? Akin, move on to the other two questions.
The other two questions is about the U.S. intervention through a senator and the wife. Actually, it has gotten to a situation where the entire world is watching us in Nigeria. And Sowore has children, in the United States. The wife is resident in the United States. Since he has been arrested, the responsibility has been on the wife and the United States all alone. And at the United States, level, they have not found anything, wrong with Sowore. He's been there for a long time. He has no criminal records. And they feel that because the children, the wife, and everybody are United States citizens, they need to protect him. And at that level, the wife is taking the Nigerian government up, and we are supporting right away from here. In fact, we are being briefed on daily basis on how they are moving there. Actually, we thank the United States, concerns, and we know that we have committed them, we have appealed to them to help us, especially that he has, a stake. He's a stakeholder in the United States. About Olawale Bakare. That Olawale Bakare, his whereabouts is unknown as we talk. We don't know because the DSS came, they masked. We didn't know their mission. After all, we were there, and in the course of trying to strangulate Sowore, Olawale Bakare too was in the court. But after the whole show, we couldn't know his whereabouts. Up to this present moment, they too claim that they didn't pick him up. We didn't know his whereabouts. Whether it's from their lapses that since they focused on Sowore in that show,
well, Mr. Akin Sowore,
they couldn't lay their hand on.
Mr. Akin Sowore, for want of time, some accounts do say that Mr. Olawale Bakare got into the same vehicle as Mr. Femi Falana and Sowore to the DSS headquarters. But let me ask you, what's the next step? Because we do understand that you have filed a contempt charge against the DSS. What is the way forward from now?
Actually, we filed, committer before even the last, order that the judge gave that they should release him within 24 hours. The last great bail, that was granted to him, and the DSS didn't release him. On the basis of that, we have filed, contempt. And we will have filed it at the level of the court before the last day that the woman gave, the very condition, the bail verdict, and they released him, temporarily. At this level, actually, we have filed contempt. Even several contempts we have filed. But the problem is that even though in Nigerian context, even though when the contempt is filed, they disregard. There are a lot of contempt, that the concerned people have filed against Nigerian security, especially the DSS, that they have ignored. They will not, even though when they are summoned by court, they will not come and, show face. So the situation in Nigeria right away is a situation of anarchy, where the DSS, as an instrument of government, has taken over everywhere. They don't respect anybody. The judge, too, is impalpable fair. The court, is desecrated. The sanctity of court is no longer, respected and regarded. So at this level, we are in a dilemma. We don't even know where to go. Because even though in Nigeria now, somebody is granted bail, the DSS,
the will definitely keep an eye on this situation, which is developing. And we wish you the best. Thank you so much, Akin Sowore, sibling to Omoyele Sowore and a member of the legal council.